Just a heads up, there's going to be some footage in this that is kind of confusing, because this is my second time filming this episode. That's because Neil Woodman is a fucking whore bitch fuckboy who doesn't make cameras that work. Instead of making cameras that work, he's actually rather innovative. He makes ones that, like, don't work, but they cost the same as normal cameras, which is pretty incredible. Truly a trailblazer in his medium. In previous episodes, I've lamented that the quality of board games has gone down. People usually talk about shrinkflation with regard to food or, usually really it's food. You know, the Oreo package is smaller than it used to be. You get the idea. You see those videos about it. But shrinkflation doesn't just touch snacks, of course. It touches every possible thing that it can get its hands onto, thinking you won't notice. Or will it? I've got with me today some old versions of board games compared to the most modern versions that they sell, and we're going to compare and contrast the components of it, if there's any gameplay changes, any material changes to the components, and see how they affect the game. The first one we've got here is Sorry. This is another one that I stole back from Soma. You see, this episode would be filmed and on Arma, slash YouTube earlier if they just let me use the equipment that I was entitled to upon graduation. Not that I'm bitter or anything that Laura Bailey is a cunt. We got a couple versions of Sorry here, and we're gonna work our way down and see what changes have been made from... What version is this? Looks like 1964 until modern day. Now, this is actually in pretty rough condition, unfortunately. I treat my board games very well, very nicely, but sometimes this is just what happens, because, you know, hey, it's old, why fucking treat it with any respect? It's not like it's worth anything. It's not like it's valuable. Pfft, who gives a fuck? So let's slide this box off like that, and take a look at the board here. The first thing you're greeted to is a field of gray and some Star of Davids to get you into the mood. Actually, the look here kind of reminds me of like Wild West 6-shooter, kind of like, I don't know, maybe it's like the Sheriff medallion or something. The look here I'm conflicted on, because like, it's classic, it's neat, but also like, I don't like the logo here, I don't like the vibe it's going for. It's really arcane, to say the least. Now the pieces here are quite solid. They're quite heavy, quite durable. They're filled in all the way. And obviously when you set this up, you just put it in here. Here's a neat little thing about the Sorry box, is that it actually has little like dressing rooms that you can put all the pawns in until it's showtime. I will say the blue here is like really terrible. I know blue dye was like pretty hard back in the 60s, especially for like plastic things. But this barely even looks like blue. It looks like black. The pieces are opaque. They're injection molded, and you just place them in here. And unfortunately, I'm missing a Sorry pawn, so I guess we'll have to see. We'll have to deal with that. Now on the inside here, it has the rules to standard Sorry with, like, you know, drawing the cards and, you know, splitting between two pawns and all that fun stuff. But it also has like other rule variants that I've never heard of. Clearly, they've dropped them from later versions. Partnership game rules. A player may enter or move either one of his own or his partner's pieces on his turn. He only forfeits his chance to play if he's unable to move or enter any of his own partner or pieces. I don't understand what this means here, because I'm functionally illiterate, I guess, when it comes to terrible rules. There's also like a point system here for like another version, the adult party cartoon version. I don't know, man. No one bothered. No one's gonna do it. The way you play Sorry is you shuffle the cards, place it down, you draw a card, then you follow the instructions on it. And by the way, these are not looking that interesting. Fortunately, I actually got a 1, so I can leave my start there. Wow, I'm pretty lucky. Wow! You saw me shuffle that, right? What are the odds of that? Craziness. The look here is very classic, but I don't know, it kind of gives me like Great Depression, Holocaust survivor vibes. We're gonna hold on to this piece here and this card, and we're gonna compare it to later versions. Next version we have here is the one that's most nostalgic to me. This is the version that was available, obviously, as a child. Box is a little smaller, and you might notice that's a trend with a lot of board games, just to save money on cardboard and, you know, space, because they do take up space. Like everything that is matter, by definition, it takes up space, but whatever. Now, this is actually like a re-release of a version from my childhood, because the version from my childhood I do remember had rounded corners on its cards, but this one did not cut the corners on it, even though it was obviously supposed to, but, you know, they saved 5 cents in manufacturer and labor, of course. Speaking of saving 5 cents, another thing to cut costs on material is, you know, they had these solid all the way through. These are hollow. These are like little bugles, I guess. Well, let's take a look at this board. Now this is what we're talking about here. This is sleek. It feels very 2000s, very Windows Vista era, like soft gradients, like everything's shiny and bubbly. It looks like it's made out of bubble gum. You could chew it, eat it, swallow it, spit it, bop it, twist it. Oh, apparently I'm an idiot. They did have the fucking play for points thing here too. Did anyone use this? The play for points system? I never did. Who's heard of the play for points system in Sorry? The cards here feel pretty much the same. This one feels like it has like maybe 1 micrometer less laminate on it. But yeah, you shuffle them, you put the card down, and, you know, same game as the last one, if you can believe it. I like the look of the cards way better than these, if you can believe it. It looks very, very sleek. Very sleek is the word that I would use for this. But, you know, obviously, literally, there were corners that they didn't cut to save money, and they scalped the insides of these to cut costs on it. So, already by 2005, we're getting a little cheaper. Cards are a little smaller, cards are a little thinner. Wherever they can squeeze, you know, a couple extra pennies in to bring up the total profit wholesale, even if it means giving you a cheaper product, because who gives a shit? Who's gonna notice? Those pawns were always hollow. You just imagine them being solid. You just imagine that. That's a Mal quote if I've heard one. 2013 brings us Sorry. Now this is the era when Hasbro was like, screw foreigners, we're gonna make this all in America. And this is easily the cheapest they ever made their board games. Like, every version of Hasbro board games that has the Made in USA thing exclusively, it's not good. It's cheap, and I'll show you what I mean in a second here. This is not the version from my childhood, but I will say that the look here is my favorite. It looks like the updated version of the last one. It's got a very, like, slick... The contrast on the colors here is, I think, what does it for me. Like, there's very few colors, very simple. And, of course, that saves money on printing, because they don't have to print as many colors. But they did it in a way that doesn't... that actually looks artistic. Now, obviously, they have the pawns hollow here, but they're also opaque. What does that mean? So, when you have it transparent like this, you can't have as many adulterants, many pollutants in it. You can't have, like, asbestos and E. coli going on in there. It has to be clear to have a high fidelity of quality of plastic here. But because it's opaque, they can put fucking garbage bags and use diapers in there to make it opaque. What's perhaps most egregious of here is that they've decided that it's acceptable to cut so many corners that instead of the 4 pawns you got for Sorry, you get 3. They compromise the actual gameplay itself. Because they're like, no one will notice. No one will care that they're missing a pawn. That the game is completely different. That the game's 25% cheaper. But yeah, you, the consumer, you won't care that we're cutting more and more pieces to, you know, still selling these at the same price we were 50 years ago, of course, relatively speaking, with inflation. We're just gonna give you less, because, like, screw you. Because you're not gonna notice. You're an idiot. You're stupid. You're dumb. What's bizarre about this version is that they actually, like, you know, despite compromising the gameplay literally by, reducing the amount of pawns you get, they also, changed the gameplay by adding this, fire thing that you can attach to it. I don't know what it does, because who does that? Who bothers with the Fire and Ice DLC they threw into the games here? I don't know. Were you supposed to be so jazzed about that you just don't notice that, oh, there's a whole 4 pieces missing from my game? My game's incomplete. Just in case you think I'm, like, missing pieces or anything, that's what it is. 12 Sorry pawns. They didn't give a shit. Like, that's actually extremely insulting. That it's like, you know, oh, they'll never notice. They'll never care. They only do it because they think they can get away with it. Because they think, you know, literally that you're too stupid to notice the game that you've been playing, you know, since your childhood, that you're probably buying for your kids now, by this point, is different, is cheaper. And this is the final, most recent edition. This one, I believe, is from 2020. Yes. And a lot of it is similar, of course. They have the same board. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on a second. No, they didn't. Come on, really? They made the board, like, 25% smaller. Really? Come on, dude. Hang on a minute. Does that mean that the pieces... So I was going to mention that the pieces here, you know, they did revert back to 4 pawns in a color, if you can believe it. You know, the amount of pawns that is necessary to play Sorry. Yeah, these are a little smaller than the original. You know, just shrinking it down just a little bit more. The Fire and Ice add-ons here, they don't have that anymore. But they made the board smaller. Really, dude? I noticed that immediately when I pulled that out. I know a lot of people might not notice or care, but it's an insult to my intelligence to be like, you know, oh, you won't notice that. You won't notice these things. And if they do notice, they won't care. Who cares? Because you can still play with 3 pieces, right? That's not the game. That's not the game that I bought. If you're wondering, it appears the cards are the same size, though. So, you know, if that was your make or break on that. Now, this is still an improvement, even though that the board is smaller. It's not significantly smaller. Of course, they're going to start trimming centimeters off, you know, year after year. But at the moment here, this is the most recent version. It's still perfectly playable, and I am really happy that, I don't know if they got complaints or if they decided out of the gratuity of their own heart to include 4 pieces, even if they're slightly smaller than the original. And it is really slight. But also, it makes you wonder, if it's so much slightly smaller, why even bother at all? What, you're saving 4 cents per game? These are $10 a piece, so for every 250 you sell, you'll get a free one. That's real efficient there. You're making 1/250th more money. Now the reason that I'm talking about this is because it makes me wonder, how long do you think they're even going to bother, like, giving you the pieces or anything? Let me show you an example of something that was fucking deplorable about modern board games. This is a game that I picked up this year, in 2025. It's a board game version of Jeopardy. I got it for $10, and let's check out the components. It just comes with cards, a card cover, so you can read those cards to the contestants, and this little whiteboard here that you're supposed to use as the board. So, like, you cross out this one here for that category. You write in the category like that, and then everyone's score is tallied on this microscopic whiteboard here. But here's the thing, is that you can't even play with the components that it comes with because you need to download an app by GameStar App and Play, of course. It's free. Free bonus Jeopardy app for Final Jeopardy Clue and Wager. You know, so you can use this in conjunction with a free app. So what's the big deal? The app's not fucking free anymore. You can't play this anymore. This was sold to me brand new. On the box, it said free. Guess what? Wasn't free. It's an app that you have to buy a subscription for to use the physical thing that you bought. The physical product that you bought. You need to use a subscription for? Are you fucking kidding me? And not to mention, like, it comes with the components for 4 games of Jeopardy. So that's like, what, $2.50 per, minus the cost of the damn subscription to the app. This is the epitome of everything that, you know, board games I feel like are leading to. Like, this is total shit. Literally illegal, by the way. This is a FTC violation in my hand. Free bonus Jeopardy app. You can't have that on there if it's not free. Granted, it probably changed after they sold that, but you know, it's being sold with that on there currently in stores. Go to Dollar General, check it out. But you need to buy a subscription to play the game. Buy a subscription to play a board game. Think about that sentence. It sounds like a comedian would, like, say that as a joke in the 90s. Insulting. Insulting is the only word I can think of. Next, we're going to be talking about Scramble here, and, you know, this is where the visuals are going to get weird, because this was sealed, and I unsealed it for you guys, so we'll probably cut back and forth here. So you open it up, and inside here we got, pow! We got the Scrabble board. We got some wooden racks here, and then you place the tiles upon those racks. This is brand new, never used, so everything here is in pretty good condition. In fact, it looks like Scrabble. Like, it looks like how, you imagine Scrabble looking. There's a couple of funny ads in here for things. There's a tile replacement form. If I want to order more tiles, I would be really interested if I could still order that to this day. I can join the Scrabble National Association, National Scrabble Association, the NSA. That's what they're talking about, right? That's who listens on my phone calls, the NSA, National Scrabble. Now, what I found was interesting about this is that it is literally identical to the copy of Scrabble that I have from 40 years prior. Like, the game board is exactly the same size, exactly the same print. The tiles are exactly the same, they're just a bit rougher. The tile racks are identical. No change from the 1940s to the 1980s. This is from 1989. And this is the version here. Now, I praised Sorry for having like a nice, flat, neat art style here, but I don't like this corporate Google-looking style here. This looks cheap as hell. Inside here we have a vinyl bag, which feels really unpleasant to hold. I don't know, it feels like microfiber, but not. So it's sticking to like dead skin on your thumb or something. Maybe that's just me because I'm a disgusting pig. What's funny is that they're bragging on the box here. Now with wooden tile racks. Holy shit, really? Wooden tile racks? You spoil me, Hasbro. Thank you so much for the thing that I was already getting. Let me tell you guys a life lesson. Life is all about people giving things you want and then taking them away. And then giving them back to you as if it's like charity, when it's things that you already had. Now, the board here it's smaller, cheaper, and also it goes the opposite way. So instead of going like horizontally, it goes like vertically, like this. And also, let's talk about the font on the Scrabble tiles here. Now, it's probably more readable to people. The original ones were way smaller. But I don't know, this doesn't look Scrabble to me, this looks Words with Friends. The finish on these also feels really cheap. It feels unlaminated, unpolished. I don't know, it feels like they made it out of like tree bark or something that could snap in my hand. It feels way cheaper material, but of course, same price as the same version that you bought 40 years ago. This was like $15 there. It literally had the price tag on it when I unboxed it. This was $20. And yeah, you can see that it's cheaper, because it's cheaper in literally every aspect. The racks are different. The ledge that the racks sit upon is way smaller. It's still functional, of course, but it used to be better. It used to be better. There used to be more effort put in, but they had to scrimp on 0.8 cents of wood, so you get a worse rack. But of course, you got the excuse of, oh, it still works, doesn't it? Yeah, and you could like hold the tiles just in your palms and do that. It still works, doesn't it? In fact, you don't even need a board. You can just print it on a piece of paper, right? And draw it out, sketch it out. In fact, just use your imagination. Still works, doesn't it? You see my point, right? Corporations passing off cheapness, expecting you not to complain about it, not to mind, not to bother, because, hey, it still works, doesn't it? You're complaining about nothing. No, I'm not asking for something unreasonable to ask for the same quality that I got, in previous copies that you sold for the same price, making the same amount of money. It's just about exponential growth, where they increase the price still costs more than it did originally, but, cheaper. Yahtzee, this is an original copy from 1958, so of course some idiot, some moron, put a sticker on it at Goodwill, right at the part where the print is peeling up. Because, hey, it's 65 years old. It's not worth anything. Who gives a shit? Who cares? Also, let's put, like masking tape or some shit on that, and just, just light it on fire, Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? Wait, who does this? How do you think, they think this is acceptable? Oh, no one would bother. No one would, want their board games to not have massive rips on the cover. Who would want that? Why would you want that? It's old. It's boring. It's stupid. Look at this dumbass here on the cover. Let's take a look at the components you get with Scrabble. You get a how to play Scrabble book. You get some ads for different versions of board games. America's most playable games. What a badge of honor. ESLO, if you guys are curious, is the predecessor to basically Milton Bradley, which then became Hasbro. I don't recognize any of these games except for Scrimmage here, actually, which I talked about in a previous video, I'm sure. Some of these look actually kind of fun. Nile here? I would love to search that out and see how that works. Looks like a strategy game where you're trying to, like, force your way across the Nile, huh? You get some brand integration pencils. It comes with a Yahtzee branded dice tin. Of course, Yahtzee score pads. It comes with chips, too. Now, you might be wondering, what do these chips do? Now, these chips were originally designed so that way you could indicate when you got extra Yahtzees. An extra Yahtzee in a Yahtzee game is worth 100 points. So for every chip you collected, you got 100 extra points. And of course, how could you play Yahtzee without the Yahtzee dice, of course? Which is pretty cool. He actually has, like, sun-bleached the bottom of the packaging here. You put the dice in, you roll it, then you make combinations out of the dice that you got in there. Now, I love the look of these dice here. It's like casino dice. And, like, that's really it. Something else I guess I like is that the carrying case here for the box, everything has a slot to stay in. It's not all tossing around on the inside there, which is actually a plus because if you have, like, game board pieces rattling around on the inside of a box that can jostle against one another and then scrape it up, scratch it, etc. And, like, you know, most people don't give a shit. Even I don't give a shit about that. But this is a neat little, like, cardboard insert that prevents that. It's just something where, you know, they took a little bit more effort, they put a little bit more money into it to lengthen the quality of the product long term. And considering it's still in this good condition 65 years later, I'd say they did a pretty good job. Look at that, it's like an MRE kit. Next up here we got Yahtzee. This version is from 1998. And, what do I think of it? Well, first of all, again, this is from a Salvation Army. They put a sticker on it. And holy shit, that's the first time I've ever been able to do that. Let's take a look at what's inside here. Oh, look at that. We got a little holding case for the cup only. Okay. Oh, on the inside here, I'm sure this came with it, right? American Cruise Lines. Give them a call. We got a couple loose pens and pencils here. It's pretty typical for used Yahtzee. This version was used and abused. Look at that. That's some neat handwriting. Jennifer. Comes with a pad of paper, comes with a plastic cup that doesn't have Yahtzee branding on it anymore. It feels iconographic to the original. You got a couple chips. The original came with like red and yellow. I don't know if there was any significance to the red and yellow. This only comes with yellow chips. And you got boring ass basic white dice here. But, you know, how do I feel about that? That they have cheaper dice. I don't know, cause like the look of the dice here to Yahtzee, I do kind of just associate it with that now. In fact, I don't even know if these are the original dice. The dice that I associate it with have rounded corners. I believe a modern version of Yahtzee comes with a die like this that has the corners rounded off. Which, you know, this obviously saves a little bit on the material, but also on the flip side, it serves a different purpose to the die, because the die rolls differently. It actually, like, rolls on the corners and becomes a bit more wild and unpredictable. So I don't know. I think this is a good change to the die. It changes the actual, like, function of the die. I don't know. You know, despite not being very unique or interesting, I kind of like the look of the basic dice in the red cup here. There's, like, an elegance to this version of Yahtzee here. But even so, it's undeniably cheaper, right? Like, only one color of chips. I'm pretty sure it didn't come with pens like the last one did. Basic dice that you can get from the dollar store. I legitimately don't mind the cuts and compromises that were made to Yahtzee. At the end of the day, it came with pencils, it came with customized dice, it came with bespoke products to it, whereas now it's just a red cup instead of printing the actual Yahtzee logo onto it. It came with more, and now it doesn't. I don't mind it, because I kind of like the look of it and the feel of it, but it literally is cheaper. And the version that I've got here that I nearly gave away, look how thin this box is. Like I said, the boxes get smaller and smaller, and this is like just a book at this point. What do we got here in it? Well, we got Yahtzee pad, and we got Yahtzee cup with Yahtzee dice, which are quite a bit smaller than typical dice. Are they? I might be imagining that. The pips look smaller. That's why they look smaller. They're actually not. False alarm, guys. Sorry. This is the most modern version of Yahtzee that I have. I could throw up some other pictures of what current copies look like. This is the carrying case for it. The dice just go into this little bespoke shaker die thing or whatever. You pull that up and you put them in there. You use your hand to cover that. Then you roll like that. Now I like the look of like the black and red. Look at that. Black and red is a pretty great color combination in general, in vehicles, in branding. Yes, I might prefer white and red personally, but I don't know, it looks primo. It looks nice. I don't think it looks nicer than the original 50s version here, but there's like nice branding to it. They were made specifically for it. They didn't just buy them from the dollar store. 2 pair, not bad. What's interesting is that the dice are held in place in the shaker when it's done, so they don't move or anything. I don't know why it's designed that way. Maybe you're just meant to carry this elsewhere or whatever. As you might have noticed, it doesn't come with chips this time. The replacement to the chips is they've added a box on the bottom to indicate bonus Scrabbles. Bonus Yahtzees. What do I think of that? Well, once again, they're cutting another thing that used to be in the original here. No getting around that. They're cutting more and more to it. Does it matter? I don't think so. It doesn't change the gameplay at all. In fact, I'd say it makes it more elegant by just having it as a little box there. One of the beautiful things about Yahtzee is that it is a very low commitment game. It's just a pad of paper and dice. There isn't more to it. But yeah, cut materials, but I like it. I'd say every version of Yahtzee that you can get, you can't go wrong with, because Yahtzee is such a simple and small game that, like, you know, even if you do cut a little bit to it, you still got a whole experience to it. Now, how could I skip over our buddy Monopoly here? You guys remember how I said that Monopoly is, like, starting to begin getting insecure about its gameplay length? Apparently that isn't a new thing. This is a version from the 1990s, and in fact, this is an equipment set from 1947, meaning that it doesn't come with a board, that comes with rules for short Monopoly from 1947. Like Hasbro, or Parker Brothers at the time, was really, really, really desperately trying to get ahead of the Monopoly is a long-ass game stigma, to the point where they get defensive in the packaging, saying, don't play this way because it lengthens the game, i.e. if the game takes long, it's your fault because you're playing it wrong. Let's take a look at what you get in Monopoly here. So on the inside, nothing new, nothing special here, but it's got the standard Monopoly board. And we got a cash tray that holds all the dollar bills individually for quick and easy convenience here. You just draw the bills like that, you know, you can be like a little cashier. By the way, now that we've brought up cashiering, I actually kind of like it because you can get more into like the role-playing aspect of the banker, because it actually resembles a cash register. Now that I got a cash register out, by the way, can I make a public service announcement real quick to all cashiers out there? If I'm getting change back, give me the change first and the bills second. That is the change first and the bills second. Let me explain why. Let's say that I'm trying to buy something for $1.13, and all I've got is a $20 bill. I've got a decent amount of change coming back to me, $18.87 to be specific. So you start with the 10, you go with the 5, you go 1, 2, 3, got 18. Give it one of these here, just to make sure you don't have any bills stuck together or anything. You got the right amount. And then you count out 87, 75, 85, 86, 87. Now what you're gonna do is you're gonna hold the bills in your right hand. The customer, you know, I'm imagining is to my side here. They'll probably be in front of you or whatever. You figure that out. You give them the change first, then the bills. Because why? Then they can take the bills out of their hand, put it in their wallet, put the change in their pocket, and leave. So many times, especially in like drive-thrus where I can't fuck around, you know, because I'm in a car, what'll happen is they'll give me the bills first, then put the change on top of it. How could you anticipate that? It only happens every time. This isn't like trained to cashiers inexplicably for some reason, so they never like think to do this. They never think to do this, you know. This is a method I devised myself. I don't know if I'm like the inventor of it or something, if this is the Pauly method. You give the change first, bills second. You put the bills on top of the change so the customer can take the bills, put it in their wallet, change in the pocket. It's not that complicated there. Anyways, the late 90s set of Monopoly here comes with how many pieces? Comes with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pieces. So you have variety in the pieces that you like. You can be the boot, the car, the man on the horse, the cannon, the hats, the dog, the wheelbarrow, battleship, thimble, or the iron. It's got plastic hotels with pretty detailed siding on it. Plastic houses, plastic dice, obviously. Let's take a look at these dice here. Pretty decent dice, you know. They are dice after all. Chance community chess cards and property cards here. Alright, we're gonna take these pieces and we're gonna compare them to a modern copy of Monopoly. So already here the box is way smaller. Not as thin, so they stacked the parts vertically. Great. Now, something annoying is that they made the property cards, which used to be its own size, they made them the same size as the chance cards. It's like they took the values of both of them and then averaged it out in the middle. It makes no one happy, because now you'll stack both of them together, they'll get mixed around, and who wants that? Who wants that? I don't want that. Also, the cash tray here, which, you know, somehow I feel fortunate that it even has one. So one of the many problems of having the bills vertically rather than having them to the side like this is that you can't actually close this up, keeping the bills sorted. You have to take all the bills out, put them in together into one stack, and then sort it out each time you want to play Monopoly. It will not close up like that. On the plus side, though, I do think this actually is a nicer format, because unlike the original where you gotta like dig through and kind of like peel bills out with like the pads of your fingers, you can grab the whole stack and count it out like money. So it is an improvement. It's clearly done out of just necessity to be cheaper. It's still an improvement, I'd say. How to own it all and fast. Tips for a fast game. To keep your game short and sweet, don't use house rules. Like, they're really insistent that to keep the game short, don't play, like, you're playing it wrong if the game takes long. No, the game is long. That's the game. That's what Monopoly is. The board, I mean, it looks conventional. Looks fine. It's probably smaller, but I don't care to check. You know why? Because this is a fucking show on public access. And I don't care. I don't care that much. The pieces here look, basically the same as the original. They look maybe a little smaller. Battleship here definitely looks smaller, though. That's And also, instead of 10 pieces, it only comes with 8 pieces. Something else is that the pieces, the houses are way smaller than they used to be. They're like 40% smaller, but the hotels are like microscopic. Jesus Christ. Like, the hotels are almost the same size as the houses used to be in the original set. There's more compromises to the usability of it, because it's smaller, it's less usable, to save 5 cents. A standard Monopoly set, it's not gone to the point where it's, like, unusable, but it's, like, you know, every iteration, there's corners cut here, corners cut there. You know, changing the property card size, that way every card is the same size, so that way they don't have to, you know, have 2 different die cuts on the mold. Smaller pieces, less pieces, removing pieces that people like. These are all compromises that they're making, not to make the game better, but to make it cheaper. The next game we're going to talk about is the Game of Life. This game is massive. It is deep. There are so many different mechanics and things to it. And obviously, they're not going to keep those in. This is an original copy from 1960. And let's take a look at what it comes with. It comes with the little mini roulette board, the board itself, and it has little boxes to store all the components. These boxes here, I'll admit, are not from this version. They're from the 1970s version, but it's basically the same idea. What's interesting about the boxes, though, is that you can flip them over and they become bill holders. That way you can take the bills, separate them, and then place them in like that. And then you have kind of a proto side loader cash mechanic like you do in modern copies of Monopoly, just made out of slits in the cardboard. Obviously, you also have like the life insurance, the auto insurance deeds that you fold out like that. Promissory notes for loans. And something I do like is that while the box is big, most of it is dedicated to this massive board here with like three-dimensional aspects of it, three-dimensional buildings. It's a big commitment to the game of life. So the game of life starts out like this. You start out by choosing a whip. You put a guy in the driver's seat. Well, actually, my car is right-hand drive, so I'd be going on that side. You start at the beginning, and you have different pathways that you can choose at certain junction points to choose your life. So if you want to get a head start on life and start on the game, you may skip college and go right to business at a reduced salary, of course. But you can go the long way and go to college and end up behind the other players. And it's critical that you stay in the lead in this game because there are certain events in the game that you are required to stop at, and you have an advantage to when you stop at them. For example, the toll bridge here, the first person that drives over that gets to own the toll bridge, and then the remaining players that drive over it will pay you a fare to cross that toll bridge. All the events are printed directly onto the spaces here, so everyone has like the same sort of life ahead of them, the same inevitabilities that everyone else has. There's also revenge, which basically means if you land on this space, you can take $100,000 from someone or do something else to screw them over. There's also a really interesting mechanic where the payday spaces, if you pass them, they still affect you because they're in red, but if you land on them, you get paid double your salary, which is pretty interesting. And also there's the famous wheel that is at the centerpiece of life. And despite being 64 years old, 65 actually, it still spins like a dream very smoothly, very nicely. Everything here is like great. It's a very in-depth, very interesting game. And it got mangled. It is like almost unrecognizable in its current state as being the game of life. They've modified so much about the game. I'll show you in a minute. There's also this neat little number board here where you can place wagers on certain numbers to bet them to get some quick cash in the game. So let's bet on 3, 7, 9. I bet I won 3. So I'd lose these, then I'd get paid 10 times my bet on number 3. Pretty neat. Gambling. You like gambling, right? We're gonna keep this board out because I want to compare it to the current version. Now this is the size of the original, and this is the size of the current. It is thinner, it is smaller, almost half the size it feels. Let's see how well it works. So on the inside here, we have a wheel, obviously. I'm glad that they're so conscious. They put paper wrapping on it instead of plastic. Except for the fucking tape that ruins the box. Couldn't do that either. Now, the original Life came with, like, 10 color cars. This one comes with 4. You could play with more than, like, 4 people in the original. You could play with up to, like, 8, actually. But this version, you only get 4. So let's open this up here. Wow. This is, like, nothing. This is nothing. This is like nowhere near the size of the original. Jeez, that sucks. Look at that. No 3D buildings, no anything to add to the presentation here. This is cheap. Which means, of course, that feature that I was talking about, the toll bridge, I don't think that exists. There's a lot of, like, mechanics that have been added and changed from the original. This is, like, hardly even, like, recognizable as the game of life here. So they got $10,000, $50,000, $100,000, and $500,000. And those are all the denominations of currency that you get. You do not get anything more than that. Why? Who knows? And also, here's a funny thing. So the money goes into this little side loader here with about like a half a centimeter of like little leverage there. And then I guess the other cards are also just meant to go in alongside that. Wow, that looks great. Now, at the top of the game, in the original Game of Life, you could decide if you wanted to start directly the business or if you wanted to go to college here. Here, it doesn't make a difference. These are both the same. These are the same things, except you draw a career card from there, and then you're randomly assigned a career, such as doctor. What difference does it make, really? There's no, like, point in making them cards or anything. You could just as easily have them printed on the spaces like in the original to assign you the career. There's no, you don't have to keep it surreptitious or anything. You might think that it's better because now the game is more random, but it totally changes the meta of it. Because the events of your life were printed on the board itself, once you passed a certain point, you knew that, like, you know, you weren't going to spend 80 grand on a helicopter because you passed that space. That wasn't going to happen here. But now, as long as that card's in that deck, this could happen at any point in the game, which completely throws off the balance of the game, too. Oh, it's hilarious, though. You know, you can decide to get married, and that's like that puts you back or something. I don't know. God forbid that, you know, someone gets fucking married. The very idea. Is it just, have they just given up on, like, the illusion that college, like, gets you a better job when, like, it only kinda does if you pick the right career and get lucky with the interview? I don't know, like, this is, like, you can see for yourself how much smaller and weaker this game is. It's shorter, it's less interesting. They didn't make 3D houses or anything. The presentation is all whack. It's bad. Bad, I'd say. This is way too overcompromised, and it's offensive, too, to, like, act like, oh, you'll never notice that the game is 40% of what it used to be. You'll never notice that. Who would notice that? You're just being a Debbie Downer. And also, because the cards are random, you can draw them at any point, there's no race anymore. From what I can tell, there's no actual, like, reason to be in the lead or anything, because you can just draw the instant win card at any point. Whereas in the game, you want to be ahead because you want to be the first one to get to a certain space, because then it won't be available for the other players. It hardly even resembles the original game, and it's insulting because it's just, it literally is calling you stupid. Like, you would not notice that this game is literally a shell of what it used to be. The original 60s life, it feels like life, where it's really luck-based and really cheap. But at the same time, it's just endearing. It's special, you know? And the final game we're going to talk about is the big one, Mousetrap. Now, Mousetrap has a reputation behind it that a lot of games don't. I mean, every game has, like, some sort of reputation. Monopoly is long. Yahtzee is frenetic. They have, like, a stereotypical association. The association with Mousetrap is that it doesn't work. And as a kid, I always thought that that was exaggerated. I always thought that, like, you know, literally anytime you saw Mousetrap depicted in a show or a movie or something, it was always, Mousetrap doesn't work. The Mousetrap doesn't work. But from my experience as a kid, I remember it working fine most of the time here. I guess it's time to myth bust this once and for all. So this is the original Mousetrap. This is from 1980 whatever. And the gravity of realizing that I actually have to put this together is hitting me now. I have not put one of these together in forever. Okay. Oh my god, this actually is bad. Okay, so this is base A. So this is base A. I guess that goes in. It feels like I'm breaking it. I don't want to break it. Well, also, like, the version I have, like, I don't know, like, I guess someone, like, got it wet and they tried to dry it off with a saw or something. So this goes on to here. I remember this. This, like, pulls a thing. God forbid I read the instructions. I know that this has to be, like, rubber banded. There's, like, another disc to it. There it is, yeah. This goes in like that, I guess. Now we're in business. I have to provide my own rubber band because, believe it or not, 50-year-old rubber bands ain't what they used to. They don't break them like they used to. Alright, I think we got something going on now. Now we got that thing going. And it has to, like, kick something. Alright, now we're cooking here. Yes, it's working. It's working. Some of these are pre-assembled for me, thankfully, so I don't have to do this. Something I do remember from this game is that everyone would, like, you know, because we were 7 years old, would just topple the trap over as they're like placing pieces down because they were trying to assemble the thing. Sure is an elaborate way to catch a mouse. A bit more trouble than I think it'd be worth, but what do I know? I figured this had to work like at least 50% of the time, but just assembling it, I can already tell it's not gonna work. Just to spoil the surprise. It might be because the board is warped from 40 years ago. But let's see. Moment of truth, Mousetrap. Surprise me. Oh. Alright. Yeah. I'm sorry. And if it quells your criticisms at all, they still did put their stupid, like, price sticker thing on there. The success rate I've been having with the price stickers is beyond science. But that was the 80s version, right? This is a more modern version that I have. This is the version from my childhood. Mousetrap, a game of zany action on a crazy contraption. Thanks, Dr. Seuss. The parts look to be basically the same. It's just, it's more recent, so it's a lot nicer. The only difference is there was like some big plastic sphere, and they've just gone ahead and replaced that with 2 metal BBs. So it actually is higher quality, because that's like, this is a good chunk of metal. The pieces are also pretty significantly different. These are the old ones, and the new ones are like, they look like pedophile mice. I don't know. I like these old ones here. But we're not here to actually review the gameplay, because no one has ever played a game of Mousetrap in their life. It's just setting up the trap and seeing if it works. So let's Mythbusters this. As a kid, I could probably assemble this with like my eyes closed and my hand tied to my penis, but now it's just not feasible. I mean, the waiting room was already upset long before that anyways, but now an interesting quirk about Mousetrap actually is that the way that you activate the trap at the end is there's this little like coincidence of events that you need to have happen that's like mathematically improbable, like a solar eclipse where you're circling all around this end part here, and one person needs to be landing on this part while another person lands on this part here. Let's just do a little like experiment run and see how long it would take for that to happen. Alright, turn crank. Turn crank. Turn the crank. Yeah! Holy shit! It did it! This is the version I remember from my childhood there, and at least that, it worked successfully. The one thing that it seems to be having a problem with is actually kicking the bucket there to knock that marble down the staircase. I don't know, man. All the science and technology we have and can't make a mousetrap that works. I'm gonna level with you guys. Every single time I tried that experiment, like off camera, in anticipation of filming this video, it did not work. I was planning to move up to the final boss here to see if it would work, but I guess the 2000s version was competent because, why would it go according to plan? Which means, not. Alright, this is fresh out the box. Brand new. Mousetrap. With easier setup than previous versions. I wonder what that means. It means less pieces. The 2 pieces there earlier that made up the bathtub and the other bullshit there is all molded as one piece. Oh, Jesus. Oh, jeez. This is way different than what we had previous. I'm a little scared. I'm a little intimidated. I don't even know where the box went. Like, what is... Like, what is this supposed to be? A vice grip? What? Gotta read the instructions. My guy, Cam Sandwich, did a video mentioning Mousetrap. And he mentioned that, like, it's all supposed to come pre-assembled or something.
That the fact that the trap is assembled before you start removes most of the appeal of the original title.
What are you talking about, bro? Jesus. Alright, rubber band. This is the slimiest rubber band I've felt in my life. All these pieces feel very coarse. and it feels as if they're 3D printed, but they definitely aren't. They're still injection molded, but they have like a rough texture as if they were 3D printed. This is brand new out the box, and it feels like I'm breaking it just putting it together. Wrench and ladder? I've never heard of these things in my life. This is easier setup, by the way. This is easier. Easier for who? Easier to persuade you into suicide. I can already tell whatever they're trying to get me to do. This just been... My brain's been reset. So wait, if the marble is in there, how is it supposed to get up here? There's like a little wrench. A lot of people exaggerate, you know, oh, this is impossible to build. You need an engineering degree or something to do this. But this is really bad. So as you can see, the mechanism is a little bit different. This is supposedly easier. So like, let's see. Latch the wrench to hold the broom in place. It doesn't even grab onto it. Do I not have it in all the way? Now, what are the odds that this little launchy thing doesn't launch this marble all the way across my fucking studio here? 0%? Probably. So you don't turn the crank anymore. There's no, like, suspense or anything. You pull the stop sign. They've removed that step entirely. And overall, there is way less pieces here, maybe for the better. But I don't know. It feels like the whole gimmick is supposed to be that it's like an elaborate Rube Goldberg machine, and simplifying it kind of defeats the purpose. Let's see. Okay, the marble dislodged like the bucket from being able to launch. Okay. Awesome. Alright, let's try this again. Come on. One of these ought to work first try, right? And by the way, at the end here, there's no, like, clockwork thing or anything. You're just supposed to, I guess, stand here and await your peril. This bucket here, when the marble hits this bucket, it moves the bucket out the way. How is it supposed to be holding it? What the fuck? This is on a hinge. It doesn't work. The bucket moves out the way. Come on. I'm gonna rocket it down this ramp here. Let's see if it works. Yay. There's no, like, support for the bucket to not move out the way. Come on. What the hell? I'm not, like, editing this or exaggerating it. Alright, let's put the marble in the bucket just to see what it's supposed to be doing. Well, that part works. It's just this bucket part. It's just this new thing that they added that they didn't have to. The design that I had before, that I was using, I got it to work after like 3 attempts. I guess you can, you know, only wonder if I think this is an improvement or a downgrade on the original. I apologize to you, Cam, for being perceivably prejudicial. If you remember from the previous episode, I talked about various mini board games, but there was one that I left out. Can you believe they did a mini mousetrap? Let's check it out. I left it out because I wanted to see if the big versions don't work. I want to see how much the small version doesn't work. There it is. Tiny mousetrap. Oh my god. That is ridiculous. That is awesome. That is really cool. Alright. Oh my god, there's even tinier, like, rubber bands and BBs and stuff. Holy god. Oh my god, everything is tiny. Tiny, tiny, tiny. This snaps into this. This. And this, of course, snaps into that. They interlock like that. One of the things I find most humorous about the mini mousetrap keychain game thing, whatever you want to call it, I don't know what the proper nomenclature is that it doesn't actually come with the components to play mousetrap. It just is the trap itself. There's no cards, there's no game pieces, there's no dice, there's no cheese wedges. So it's like they've given up on the facade of it being a game. It's like, yeah, this is the reason why you bought it. It's for the trap. Anyways, guys, this is the final product. It was a pain in the ass getting that little cage on the tower thing there. Let's see how it works.
Room type of castle thing. I don't know. I can ask her later. She's not. No, it would probably be down south.
Oh, okay.
It's gotta be. It's gotta be.
I know they had like the Ice Palace show that they did just a little bit ago.
Cool.